Confirmation is up. We are going live in five, four, three, two, one. Hi guys, this is Zorfrost here. I have two amazing guests with me today. We're going to be talking about the subject of motherhood. Now, as a guy, I can't even fathom what that's like, and I know that fatherhood has its own, special ways of interactions. But I will leave it to my two guests to introduce themselves. Guest number one, feel free to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Monica. And
And my second guest.
Hi, I'm Tracy.
Uh,
Hi.
thank you, thank you very much for showing up to my show today, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to speak to both of you while we just sit here and grow together, because that's pretty much what the point of it is. Um, so just today, I decided to look up some questions instead of some of the questions I wanted to ask personally. I'm trying my best not to sound like an idiot. So when it comes to discipline, what route do you guys usually take? And I guess we'll do guess one, guess two, and then I'll let y'all talk it over, and then we'll take it from there. So, guess one, say your child is misbehaving, right? What steps do you take for discipline?
Um, is he misbehaving in house or outside of the house?
We're talking about on a general scope. You know,
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's you want to know what, to be fair and to expand the conversation, we'll start with outside first.
Okay, well, with me, I'm old school, and I always believe that a child shouldn't be acting up on the outside or acting up at all. I think you should have a certain um, respect. And as a mother, as an older school mother, that's how you instill certain values and certain ways you must act, and that's part of my way of looking at it because I was brought up that a certain way also. So I never expect my kids to. I never really like discipline them. There was always something. Maybe if they're misbehaving, I might look at them a certain way and they will get it. But physical, maybe giving them spanking them or putting them on timeout. Those are things that I never had to. So, but people do stuff, different things for how they raise their kids or how they were raised. They pass it on to raising their children that way. But that's how I am.
All right. Guess number two. Outside misbehavior. How do you address it?
Um, my son was always, he always knew that there was a standard of expectations when we were out in public. Um, and if he didn't meet those expectations, we weren't staying, we would leave, or he would get it. Not that he would get
I
anything. We were coming home and you were going to your room, or you were going to timeout, or you were going to have privileges taken away.
Hmm.
There would be consequences for your actions.
Now, personally, I know that not everyone acts the same way outside as they do inside, especially when it comes to discipline. I've seen so many reports, and you can see videos all over social media where undisciplined kids are literally hitting their parents, cursing at them, and making an embarrassment out of their entire family. uh, it sounds like you two pretty much have a strict role on control of how you deal with your kids, which is something that's very necessary for the growth of the child. Every child wants discipline. Like they might be unruly, they might be seeming like they want to something sim- sorry, that was my phone, I apologize. um, they they might seem like they want to just search for attention, but realistically they want discipline. So
But they test you.
what happened?
I'm sorry. But kids test you. They're gonna do things to see how you're gonna react because they also want to know what's gonna happen if I do this or I do that. So they do test you.
I,
Definitely, yes.
have you guys gotten like tested? If you don't mind, you mind recounting one of your situations?
You talk about. I'm talking about acting up out on the outside. Um, but if that happened, if the child started, well, with my experience with one of my kids, um, my children were never allowed to, if we go out on the train or the bus, um, you concentrate on each other and not other kids because other kids seems to they're not disciplined. So I just want you to. Anyway, my son decided he wanted to play on the train. And he didn't ask me if he could play with this little boy. But he looked right back at me and that was it. He didn't do anything. So he knew not to that wasn't my way at all. Playing is for the playground or you play in the house. You don't play on the train or the bus, and that's how I see it. And that's what happened with myself. So they already knew this was taught to them in the house already. So they knew when they get out, there were things that they couldn't do.
And what about you, guest number two? I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna call you Sky until you say it's okay to call you otherwise. Yeah.
You can call me Sky, that's fine.
All right. Okay, Sky. And Monica, you want me to just call you by Monica? Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So yeah, Sky. Like when it comes to like disciplining your kid, um, I don't. I know it's a touchy subject, but could you tell me like have you ever took it to a physical route? Now, when I say physical, I'm not talking about you uppercutting your kid or anything like that, but uh, I'm talking about in the sense of like maybe a slap on the hand or a general spanking, not one that's like a beat down, but like a disciplinary way, over the knee, the old school. Well, I want to call it old school, but you put your
Old
kid over
school
your
is
knee and you
old
spank his
school is a
bottom.
flogging. Yeah, you talk about a flogging. That's like they say a proper ass whipping.
Yeah.
That's not what you're talking about. You're talking about just giving.
Disciplinary beating. I don't know any other way to say it because if you
Hmm.
if you if you if you say yeah I beat my kid, it's always
No.
gonna sound terrible even though your intention is like I gave him a spanking.
Right,
Hmm.
right. Um, no, he never got a beating. He never got a whooping. I was very
Hmm.
blessed in that he was a very, very good child. He did one time get a small slap across the face, but he was pushing me. He was very small. He was probably 2 or 3, and he was trying to get his point across. And I was telling him no, it wasn't going to happen. And he was screaming in my face, and I wasn't going to take it. And he got real close and screamed no in my face, and he got a little slap. And that was all it took. And he never pushed me again.
Oh,
Oh,
So, but I was blessed, and that's all it took. So,
and that's all it.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
you were blessed. Oh
I
yes.
was.
Oh, that was a blessing.
Yes.
I remember then my son started teething, getting his teeth in, and he bit me, and
Oh,
I bit him on his finger to let him know, no, that hurts. You know,
yes.
you're being fed, and you shouldn't do that. So he looked up at me and he just smiled, and that was it. That was the last time he ever did that. But that's that's whatever works for you, whatever works for a person in raising their kids. If it works, it works. If it's not working, try to listen to someone else. Maybe you can pick something up from somebody else, and that might help.
I
But
think
I'm
that's
not.
what discipline comes down to
Mhm.
is whatever works for you. And if it's not working, maybe try something different.
Yes. Oh, yes. That's very important.
I'm actually glad to hear you two talking. Especially sounds like Monica, your nervousness has gone away quite a bit. You sounded a little shaky in the beginning, but
It's
anybody,
all right.
yeah, anything that's new to people, it tends to have them very defensive, and
Right.
the the point of everything is to be comfortable while you're talking. That's how we get to the root of how we really feel, and it can help other women or just men that's listening to the podcast relate to motherhood, because motherhood is not an easy thing. I haven't ran into a woman that I've spoken to about being a mother and they're like, oh, it's easy as pie. It doesn't exist. All right, you might have some really good smooth times, but everybody runs into a rough patch.
Yeah,
Now,
but and you have good kids. So, you can look back on everything and you can say, you know what? Right now, I must have done something right because I my kids are pretty good right now, and they're older. So I must have done something. Being a single parent, um, it was tough, but you have to do it because my belief in giving birth to a child is that that child never asks you to bring him in this world, so you will always be a mother no matter what. So you have to do the best job you know how to. And I did the job that my mother did on myself and my other siblings, and I think I did a fantastic job in raising my kids. You know.
and what about you, Sky? Like, the whole birth of bringing another life in here. Like how did you feel? Were you like afraid or, you know? I'm sorry. Question to both of you. You can answer in any order. How many kids do you have, if you don't mind
Well,
answering?
but I have three kids, two boys and one girl.
And I have one son.
You have one son. Okay.
Yes.
So back to the question, like how did you feel? Like the whole leading up to, hey, I'm pregnant and I'm about to have a child. Like, how did you feel?
Well, okay, go ahead, Sky.
Okay. Um, being pregnant, being pregnant was miserable. I hated being pregnant.
Mhm.
But bringing a child into the world was the greatest thing ever. It was like I was 20, and it was the biggest thing I had ever done, and it was amazing, and it was exciting, and it was thrilling, and it was, this here's this little person that I love more than anything, and
Anything.
it was the greatest thing ever. And but then almost immediately I was a single mother. I was married at the time, but almost immediately that fell apart. And then all of a sudden, it was the scariest thing ever. So it was a lot. It was a lot of highs and lows all at once, and it was a lot.
I'm sorry to hear that. I know being a single mother is definitely a lot harder than having a support system, even if it's just emotional or even physically based. Because taking care of a child is no easy task. You
No, it's
know,
not.
and
And even if you have a support, so even if because I had my family with my first child, I had my family, but still being you want to be the best mother you can be. So you didn't want other people in your family to raise your child. You knew your mother didn't do it, so you're not going to do it. But it was so good to have my mom and my dad and my brothers and sisters there to help. But you still, as the so-called good mother, because there are mothers that's not good, meaning they don't have no maternal anything. And I over the years, I've been around women that just didn't care about their kids, and I wanted my children to be loved, and it was very important to me to know how they breathe. They are if when they're sick, how things change in their bodies, and these are the things that were important to me with my children. you know. And being old school too, your kids sleep with you, the young when they're younger, because you breastfed them, and that give me a time to know the growth of my child, how you know the bonding, everything. It was a beautiful experience, and I love it. But now I'm too old to have more kids. But ooh, I don't want more kids. I have enough.
well,
Thanks to God.
just for statistics, the oldest woman to have a healthy baby was 68. So it's never too late. Maybe you find a magical man, and he will
No,
bless you with miracles. You know.
no, 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 no way. I wouldn't have kids today if I could. I would not.
Why not?
Today it's so difficult. It's a difficult time for people to bring kids in this world. It's very hard.
In the sense of having children or raising them.
Raising them,
Well, how,
there's so and having and women in with problems, physical problems, mental problems,
I mean,
and there's a lot of people that shouldn't have kids, and there are people that want kids and can't have them. You know.
but that existed in every time period. I can't even sit here and be
Yeah, but
like,
yes, I understand that. But remember, every time period in my period, okay, there were women that didn't want the kids, but they had people that took care of the kids. You had a whole village that took care of your kids.
it takes a village to raise a child. I remember that
Right.
phrase.
So today you don't have that.
Ah,
And then, it is so sad for the kids of today. And there's so many things that's happening. Do you really want to have a child today and bring the child into this world the way it is right now? Uh, I mean, that's up to the individual, but for me, there's no way. That's why I'm glad I had my kids when I did, you know.
and how do you feel about that, Sky? Do you feel like it's difficult for you to like raise your child? Because I know you said you had a lot of ups and downs. But do you feel in this time period that it's really hard to raise a child?
I do kind of feel the same way. My son is 20 now, and he's coming into the time of his life where he's going to be finding somebody to settle down with and maybe start a family.
Hmm.
And I think about him bringing a child into the world, and I'm torn on whether is that a good idea or isn't it with the state of the way things are in our country and in our world, and how difficult it is for children in general to grow up on a daily basis. Is it a good idea? I don't know anymore.
No,
Well, mhm. Go
nah,
ahead, Mr.
I'll keep my point short. Um, the things that are happening now in today's climate, it has happened throughout history. You know, sometimes in a worse case, in a much worse case scenario than it is now. I feel like children growing up in a harsh environment will do one of two things. It will, one, make them susceptible or very sensitive to the issues that's currently going on, or two, it'll battle harden them and they'll become very uh, damn. I was looking for an intelligent word, but they would become very desensitized. You know, and it's very extreme right now because it's usually one or the other. You know, there's people that don't have that fighting capability to deal with life issues. You know, they need a lot of support. But currently in this time, everything is about me. So it sounds like what you're saying, what you're both saying is you know morally correct, because since everybody's so concerned about themselves, there's nobody to help each other to guide them in the right direction. There's so many things that's going on, especially when it comes to racial tensions in our own country, war that's like pretty much on our coast and could explode at any moment, even though we have taken out a lot of leaders on the enemy side. We have a lot of conflicts within our own communities, as well as in other communities. We're literally warring with other people while warring with ourselves. So I do feel that right now in this time we are definitely in a dangerous time period. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say. So Monica, if you definitely want to comment from there.
So what is amazing to me about now and raising kids, the kids, um, they 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 don't they don't take time to understand to understand things that happened before, like back then. They don't. They, I don't know where kids are going today. I don't know what's going to happen the next 10 years. And we, as myself, as a older person, trying to explain certain things to the children of today, they're not listening, and some of them think they know it all, and it's very it makes me feel like I'm wasting my time, which I shouldn't. I should still help and do the best I can, because if one is listening, the job, I did my job, you know. But you need more than one to listen. You need more than one to continue the fight for the rights of people, all kinds of people, civil rights for people. These are things that's important, and they're just living day to day. You know, some of them are, but they're such a small amount of adults young adults to put us, you know.
To put the kids on the right track.
Yeah, for them to be on the right track, for them to go to the next level of making um, things better for their world, because it's going to be their world. They're the ones that's moving forward. At my age, I have one leg in the grave and the other one out. I'm just here.
I'm sorry that I know
I
that was morbid, but it's kind of funny.
no, but it's I'm being honest. I'm being truthful about. There isn't. I don't know if I'm going to live to 100, but people are doing that today. But do I really want to live to 100 years old? I don't think so. But I really don't feel that I will because of what's happening in the world today, And this it's vicious. It's vicious. But get back to wanting to have kids now. Um, I'm not going to tell someone not to, but I know I wouldn't because of the situation. But every woman that wants to experience childbirth, I wish you the best, you know, because for me it was a beautiful experience. I know that raising kids it's expensive. You have to be attentive. There's things you can't put the things that you wanted to do before you had kids. You can't do them anymore because now you're not in the world by yourself anymore. You have a responsibility to another human being. So you have to look at life different when you have a child because they're looking at you for guidance and everything else. Okay, so that's how I feel. How you feel about that?
I think that was one of the biggest things that I underestimated when I had a child was how big of an influence it was going to have on my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he was very, he was a good child. He was very portable. He was very calm. I could take him anywhere. He did everything with me, but I gave up a huge part of my life. I was literally for 18 years because I didn't want to bring somebody into his life who wasn't going to be a good influence, a positive role model,
Mm-hmm.
um, somebody who was going to affect him in a positive way in every way, shape, or form. And so if I got into a relationship, as soon as it got hard, as soon as it looked like it was going to affect him in a way that I wasn't 100% sure about, I bailed. And so I wasn't in a relationship for longer than 6 months, I would say, for 18 years. So I gave up dating essentially for his whole childhood. And I just recently in the past year finally found somebody to settle down with and, you know, finally starting to explore relationships again. But I gave up that part of my life for him for 18 years.
Wow,
So
I could
I
imagine.
underestimated what it was going to do when I, decided to leave my marriage and take that step. It was big. I didn't realize what it was going to do.
I
Wow.
understand.
The
Yeah.
sacrifices. I wow. And
And the thing is, what I'm sorry.
no, no, go ahead, go ahead.
The thing is that I wonder sometimes if my children understood the sacrifice of me being in a relationship with someone, and I I don't know if they understood understand that I didn't. There were everything. They're still everything to me, but I didn't want anyone coming into their life, like you say, Zay,
Right.
to influence them in any way. I felt maybe I was being selfish, that I could have, I did the best job, but I did a fantastic job. And if somebody came in, then they would interrupt the flow of me raising my kids.
Right.
So I never really wanted to be involved. That was on the back burner, and it still is. I still don't want to be involved. My children they are the most important things in my life, people in my life. So I understand you, but great. Oh wow, what a job! I can look back on this and say, wow, I did it. I did it my way,
Mhm.
you know. And I feel great about that. It might be selfish. Some people might think it's selfish, but I knew with the partner that I had, I couldn't raise them, or because his ideas weren't going to be feasible for my children. I saw that, so I had to leave him alone, not taking them out of his life or saying, oh, wow, I don't want him in my life and they can't have nothing to do with him. That was personal. And the relationship with him and the children were just as important. And I never wanted to take that away from him. But in my life, I didn't need you in my life. I have these kids longer days, more days than you, and this is what I feel is right. So I try to instill what I had to instill in my children, and I am proud to say I did a great job, and I know what he was a totally different person, had a different mindset, which it wasn't to me, wasn't good. And I think I would have had more of a problem raising my kids with someone, with their father. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So I feel pretty good. No regrets. So you don't need. It's good when, because my parents were together for like 60 something years. I always had a mom and dad. I wanted that, but I'm not gonna sacrifice the well-being of my children because I needed their father. You know, my children are always more important than in a relationship, than any relationship. I mean, the
Exactly.
old saying is, they're my flesh and blood. You're not, you see. But
Mhm.
I still never wanted to deprive them of that relationship with their dad. So, you know, I feel pretty good about the whole thing with my children. There's no regrets at all.
On the topic of dads, since you guys were both single parents, did was there ever any like rough times with the father? Because I hate to put it in the way that sounds a little uncouth, but your baby daddies. Like I hate to use the phrase, but as soon as you hear it, you understand what I'm saying. A baby daddy is a guy that's not with you,
Mhm.
and but he's the father of your child. And I could hear myself. That's just so weird. So for the most part, you ask yourself, was there any major problems? Like, did the baby fathers were they active in your child's life? I'll start with Sky and then go to you.
My son's father has not been active in his life since he was 14 months old. Um, he pretty much disappeared immediately. He has 7 other children,
Jesus.
which he takes care of and sees on a daily basis. He lives in Montana. I live in New York. So it would be difficult for him to see him regularly, but he doesn't call, he doesn't text, he doesn't email, he doesn't anything. I had to take him to court and have his wages garnished just to get child support. And so no, I don't we don't talk, we don't communicate, nothing. So I did it all myself from 14 months until he's 20 now. So, no,
Amazing job. I commend you.
thank you.
Yeah, like that's freaking amazing. The amount of courage and determination to make sure that your child makes it through. That's dedication. I
I
some yeah.
I had a lot of support from my family, thankfully.
Hmm.
You know, my
Yes.
parents have been amazing. My father really stepped up and took on the male role in his life, and you know, he had that, thankfully. And but yeah, nothing from his father.
That I'm so sorry to hear that. Um,
Well,
hopefully
that is life also. That is life. And, but you know what? I always say this. Then there's a child. The mother and the father both can not supposed to abandon the child. Somebody got to stay and take care of that kid. So the one that stands up and say, "I'm going to take care of this child. It's my child." I commend her or him because some men do
step up.
take care of their kids. But my dear Sky, I commend you on that.
Thank you very
We
much.
both have similar experience because I did have my family. I do have my family, and if I didn't have them, I don't know. It would
Yeah.
have probably been more difficult for me. But I
Yep,
had
it would have
them,
been.
and that was perfect for me.
Yep.
Like I said, there's no regrets. But the worst thing, I this that you mentioned something there about you had to put him in court to help.
Mhm.
I I think that is so horrible in terms of the man. Why do I have to do this to you in order to take care of yours?
Yep.
Why? I always ask that question. Why?
Yeah. And it was his first child,
Oh,
and
wow.
he continued to have seven more, and then didn't want to take care of the first one.
Swan. Oh
Yeah.
my, that is something. I can't
Mhm.
stand him. I can't think about where his mind is.
Yeah.
But your son is fine.
Yeah. My
As
son is
long
fine and doing amazing. So,
amazing, right?
yep.
My kids are doing amazing. They are fine.
Mhm.
Yes. But that's something we didn't want for them, but it worked itself out. Your son is 20 years. He's a grown man.
Yes, he
My
is.
kids are grown kids. So the thing is, without a father in their lives, when they decide to have their kids, I would expect them to be my sons to be the best fathers that they can be,
That's what
knowing that father wasn't there,
Yep.
you know.
That's what I
So
see
look,
him doing too.
you, huh?
That's what I see my son doing too.
Yes, yes, and that's beautiful. Like
Yep.
no regrets. That's all I can say. I have no regrets. The
Yeah,
love that you have for your child, that would that will take him along. And then he also had a father figure, so it wasn't like, oh wow, there was no man.
Right.
He had his grandfather,
Mhm.
so that was beautiful.
Yep.
So sometimes you have to just let it go because look at the age of your child. He's not 9 years old, and my kids are not. my kids are my kids are so old, it's unreal. But they're too much. They're really too much. But I love them. And there's this thing I heard the other day. With this guy that's 30 years old and he's still at his mother's, right? I don't know why people are making a big, but I understand He's not working. He's not trying to help. He's not trying to do anything, right? My parents never forced us out the house. We left because we can afford to leave, and we'll be all right. We will have a struggle as human beings do. I never saw my I would never I never wanted my kids to leave and they didn't have a place or they weren't set up right. I don't care how long my kids stay with me. They can stay with me for the rest of their lives if they want to. You see, I have
Mhm.
no problems with my kids, with any of my kids living or staying. But when it's time for them to move on, they will know. They will know. You have a child is working, productive, um, doing everything right, but they're not ready yet for family to move on. Why would I want to throw my child out my house? To me, that don't make much sense.
Well,
If you're not going to be in the house and not contributing, doing stuff to make your surroundings better, that means I'll be an enabler. And I'm not going to do that. You have to do things so when it's time for me to go, not you to go, but for me to go, you'll be able to stand on your own 2 feet because you understand what this is all about. So how do you feel about that guy that stayed there and the people are telling the parents that to put him out or whatever? But he, like I said, he had problems also. He didn't want to work. He wanted his parents to do everything for him. I'm not going to do that for my kids. They
No.
have to do some things for themselves.
Yes.
But I'm not going to force my children out into this miserable world and these high rents and, you know, I'm
uh,
not going
the, the
they
rent
have
is
to do
high.
that when they want to. They're going to have to do that when they want to. But,
When he's ready,
huh?
he can go, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to force him.
Oh,
You know,
no.
he's
Yeah.
20 and he's talking about it already. He actually, I'm a very proud mother. He just got a very, very good job. Just got it on Thursday last week. Um,
Mm,
and
great.
he's already talking about, I can't wait until I can move out. And I'm like,
Mm.
I'm not ready.
But you know what we as mothers have to think? Listen, the door is always open.
Yes. You
Yeah.
can come back, but I'm not ready. I wasn't ready for that to be the first thing out of his mouth.
Mouth.
I'm going to move out.
Mhm.
I wanted it to be like, I can't wait to buy new sneakers or something.
Right. But you know what? You let him go
Yes.
because he's ready.
Yeah.
If he's not ready, you stay here as long as you want.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm glad you feel the same way I do, my dear.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do.
It's a beautiful thing because you're level-headed. You love your child. You're comfortable. You know, he's not a kid that you have to buy bonds for,
No.
jail
But
bonds or whatever. You
yes,
know,
but
you're good.
he does have to be a productive member of society.
Society. That's how I see it.
He
Yes.
can't sit here and, leech off
Look
me
at me.
all day every day.
No,
And,
no.
he's got to be doing something.
Yes, I say that. And that's a beautiful thing. That's all you want for your kids.
Yes.
Yeah. But motherhood, oh, it's just the best. I love it.
So real
Oh,
quick, only because I'm kind of curious, right? Can you guys give me one of your high points in the terms of motherhood, like maybe a fond memory, something that make you laugh when you look back at it, and then right after you explain that, we'll just take it to the other side of the spectrum, something horrible that you're willing to share. So I guess I'll start with Sky. Like, can you recount a very good memory or a very high point that you had with your son?
Um, oh geez. I guess what um, hmm. My high point would be him graduating high school. He was a shy, quiet kid, and he, not that he had it rough in high school, but he he wasn't super popular. He wasn't an outgoing kid. And I was worried about the graduation ceremony, that it was going to be rough for him or that it was going to be rough for me. And when they called his name and he walked across the stage, like, the whole school still cheered for him and everybody was
Mm,
still happy for him. And I was like, wow, like, he really made an impression on people still, even though he was a quiet, shy kid. And it was, like, a really proud moment for me. Like, he did it. He did it, and he did it well. So
yes,
that was a good day.
that's great.
Yeah, it was good.
I think I think for me, because of my three kids, that we had different areas. But at my he's my middle son. When he graduated, also was something for me because you know this is the first kid that I had that made me actually cry. You know,
Well,
because he didn't listen to me. And then when he graduated from from high school, I was so proud of that moment. And you know what? You talk about a whipping.
oh,
He
did you
did
beat him?
something. He did something in school, and they called me up to the school, and I wanted to whip him so bad in school, but my heart, you know. But that little boy, I'll tell you, that little boy, wow. And you know what? We were both born the same month. So we're both the same sign. And I think so highly of him because you know what? This is the child that corrects me. This is the son that would say to me, Ma, you know that wasn't right, or you know, and then correct me. And he wants to he wants me to know it right. You know what I mean? This boy, oh wow. I have so I have three kids to talk about. But this particular son of mine was he plays such a part in my life. It's unbelievable. And you know I have these three kids and I can say I love my children, all three of them. But this boy was conceived. I think at that point with myself and his father, we were so much in love, young love, right? That he was conceived. It's not that I didn't want my other children, but he himself, this particular child was conceived with more love than ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was amazing to me. And the thing is about this particular child, he looks exactly like his father. And I never hated his dad. That's the thing. I loved this. He was the only man I ever loved. And then I went on and had another child for him. And they all looked like the family, his family. So it was no hate or anything or animosity. It's just that we could not, you know, I'm a strong-willed woman, and so he's a strong man. So we couldn't do it together like that because my way, I think my way is right, and you're not going to change. You're stubborn. I'm a stubborn person at that time. But you have these is things that happen. But that middle child of mine, he oh, first child that made me cry. I'm not. uh, it's just some memories. I
Yeah.
well, you
had to walk to his school, this school, school is boys and girls high school, and I had to walk to the school because he misbehaved, and I didn't like that, and I thought that he didn't care how I feel, but he proved me wrong. So I'm very proud. I'm very proud of
Um, so I guess that was one of your low points also, where he
him for a minute, but look what he did to make it a high point in my life.
he turned it around or something like that.
He turned it around, you know. He turned it around. He graduated, and he's been on the right track ever since.
Well,
So
that's always good
I'm
to
proud
hear.
of him.
Yeah, you gotta always when it comes to your kids, everybody wants what's best for them. But sometimes I feel like I don't have any kids, but I think if I had a kid, I would want to make his life as rough as possible. I know it sounds real mean and like real like insensitive to maybe a lot of people, but one thing that has
But
been
rough
proven,
how? What do you mean by rough?
I want his life to be as difficult as possible.
Why?
Science proves that those that could persevere through terrible moments can handle anything in adulthood. Sounds really ridiculous, right? So, like, I'll give you an example, right? And not saying that this will apply to, well, it will generally apply. Use your imagination, however you see fit. But say my son is doing push-ups. I want to put a 5 pound weight on his back, so that when he decides to do his next set of push-ups, he can do it a lot easier because he has struggled through it at a harder difficulty. And I want to apply that theory to everything he does in life. So say that he got a good mark on a test, I'll give him his congratulations, but I'll bring up some harder tests before the teacher do it, so that when he goes to school and the teacher is giving him this test, he could ace it because he already struggled through something more difficult. I feel if you challenge a child, right, and not let them be lazy, they'll be far more productive than you or they themselves expected to be.
Until you have that child and then they're doing the push-ups and you're looking at them and you're thinking, "Oh, please baby, just let me do the push-ups for you."
Nah,
That's
that's a mom thing. Nope. I know too many dads. It's like, yeah, you could do better. And
But
my father actually was that type of a person. I didn't realize it now that I'm an adult, but my father was very pushing. He was very challenging of not just physical actions, but my mental state. And as a kid, you don't get it. You don't. You just like, oh, my dad is being a jerk. Ugh. But like as an adult, you look back at the situation and it's like he has even though it was kind of jokingly said, wounds still kind of opened up. He used to comment about my weight all the time. He also used to um, compare me to other people, which is something that it's very degrading, regardless of how they wanted to do it. Right. So now you have to challenge whoever this person is that he's comparing you to. And for two little boys specifically, because I don't know how it works with girls, I'm not one. But say you take the challenge and the other person accepts, they challenge each other until they become better, and that's how it generally supposed to work. But sometimes things happen in the middle. Emotions play a lot of a major role in it also, where you can't think past your feelings being hurt. But once you settle down and you recount all the things that happen, it does make you a stronger person. Like people can call me because I'm not exactly a healthy, slim guy, if you know what I mean. I like my pork a little bit. But for the most part, I like to eat. And I know eating too much is thing, but the point of that is people used to be like, "Hey, you're kind of fat." Used to make fat jokes. I'll be like, "Well, yeah." Like it's something I can't ignore, and it doesn't hurt me as much because I was constantly challenged as a kid. you're gonna have to be real creative to hurt my feelings. But people are not that creative, at least when not when it comes to insults. Like so, like you're fat. You're like, well, yeah, I know, but you're ugly. He's like, well, your mother, and that's pretty much the chain of insults. It's not really intelligent. It's not quirky or anything. The point of the being of the subject I'm saying, having a child that's being challenged. Like you ask them, hey, what's your ABCs? Then you tell them the extra letters, and then you ask them, what's your ABCs? So it's all about education and challenge all at the same time. Like, and that brings me to the next subject. Like, do you challenge your kids? Now, it doesn't have to be something educational. It could be just a regular challenge. You could go from playing a game to hey, let me race you to any kind of factor of a challenge. The question is, do you challenge your kids? I'll start with Sky.
Um, I'm probably not as much as I should have. I'm kind of a big softie. I think a lot of that was single mother guilt. I um in therapy, I told my therapist my son probably never had a negative emotion in his life because I made things too easy for him a lot of the time. But he played soccer and I was a crazy soccer mom.
Yeah.
And I challenged him a lot when he was a soccer player. I made him, practice on his days off, and I made him stand in the backyard and do throw-ins if until he could hit the side of the house from the back of the yard. And I made him do those kick things, I forget what they're called, until he could kick it like 15 times. And once you can kick it 15 times, now you got to do it 16 times. So there was balance, I guess.
Mhm.
So yeah, I guess a little bit.
A tad bit. I hear
Yeah.
that. And, and
Uh,
and what about you, Monica? Did you ever challenge your kids? And at this point, you don't have to mention your middle child. You can mention your other
I,
kids.
my other kids, I challenge them. Um,
How so?
I'm a athletic, athletic,
Athletic.
athletic, athletic, or something. I have something in my mouth.
uh,
I'm sorry, trying to speak with something in my mouth.
Phrasing.
Um,
So food or
okay.
something.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But this is a question. You talk about challenging a child, and you ask the question. But I always wanted to know what would a mother want? A child to be all around, have everything intact, to have common sense and have education at the same time, or just be have education, have the book sense. Sky, what would you have rather for your son to have? What, one or the other, or all, both of them?
Um, Both of them.
Yes, I
Yeah.
feel that way too because that was my challenge. I wanted you to have some book sense, and I also want you to have some common sense because they go hand in hand in order
Hmm.
to survive in this world. So challenges. I like football and basketball. I like sports. Period. So my sons love sports. Well, one didn't love sports as much as the other. One became a basketball player, and the other one. But I remember when the other one used to go to football practice, and I would run around the how you say it,
Track.
the field, the track with him. But you know what? That wasn't for him. He didn't like football. But I figured because he was a big kid, that's maybe he would like that. But he really didn't like it. But I tried. That was the challenge. I challenged. I said, if I can do it, so can you. And the other one with the basketball, I never really missed a game with him. Missed a game. seeing him play, unless it was somewhere in the country where I can get there. But um, I push him and tell him, look, you have to run. I'm running up and down the court with you. You have to. You can't be tired, and you know. But that worked for him, you know. So we do have to challenge our kids to something. We really do. And my daughter also, I challenge her to. So, it's okay. It worked out okay. You have to challenge your kids. You have to want. You see, what I see about raising kids and being a mother is that you want your children to be better than you. What you didn't do, you want them to do and succeed.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's being wanting the best for your kids and to be good at whatever they want to do in life. That's what you want for your children. I'm not trying to compete with my kids, and especially my daughter. I'm not. I want you to be better than I was. I want you to do things better. I want you to, um, um, like you said, also, Sky, productive people in this world, to be here to serve a purpose. Figure out what your purpose is and go after it and do it to the best of your ability.
Yep.
And to me, that's the biggest. That brings me joy. So knowing that my kids are happy where they're at in their lives, I'm happy too. You know.
That's
So I
that.
feel pretty good about. I love motherhood. I just love it. There's some people that really don't like it. There's some parents that don't like it.
Mhm. There are.
Yeah, they can't stand their kids. That's not me. I can't stand some of the stuff they might do because I know they don't want to come back to me and say, "Oh, Ma, you were right," or and I don't really want to be saying, "Oh, I told you so." But that's what a good mother would do anyway, not to get out of my face and you should have listened stuff. I don't want to be the ones to say that. Okay, you'll do it better the next time. That's how life is. But I love being a mother. I love my children like you love your son.
Yep.
That was very moving. It's always good to have good mothers out there, especially when uh, you see so many that are either misguided or they and I'm saying as they as in parents, not just the mother.
Hmm.
There's just bad parents, and with more kids having kids, it's so harder to raise them properly, if you know what I mean. When some of the
Hmm.
children have a younger mentality that's not prepared for parenthood, and that will lead me to the closing part. So I guess we'll start with you, Monica.
Yes.
If there's any mothers out there, right, that's thinking about having kids or they're currently pregnant, what advice would you offer them so they can probably have a slightly easier time dealing with the greatness of having these wild creatures exit their bodies?
I find that very. I don't like you calling them creatures.
I'm
But
only lightly joking.
okay, well it's funny, ha. But
Wow, the sarcasm. Okay.
here's what I'm saying to you about they're already pregnant, right?
I said that want to have kids or are already currently pregnant. What advice would
Well,
you offer them?
if they weren't pregnant, the advice is not to get pregnant if you're not ready. If you are not ready for this human being to take care of this human being, do not have any. Protect yourself. But as you are pregnant, here we go. This is a journey and you have to see it through. And you have to love your children. You have to show them the best of you You have to be the best parent that you can be. You have to protect them. That's very important to me. You have to protect these kids. You have to make sure they get an education. Don't do as I do, but do as I say. And what you say, I hope it's the best thing for those kids or that child. Because you're not going to smoke a cigarette and tell the child, don't smoke cigarettes. You're not going to put a bottle to your head, don't drink. And the child is watching you and you're going to tell them, don't drink. No. Put your best foot forward and do the best for your child or your children. And never give up. Never give up on them. Never give up. It will be all right. You'll see. It might be tough today, but tomorrow is another day. And I'm not trying to be all religious and everything, but whatever religion you are, whoever you pray to, they will see you through. It will be all right. But give them the best of you. That's it.
And Sky, what advice would you give first for parents that are thinking about it, and then into the already pregnant ones?
For parents who are thinking about it, I definitely would go with be sure that you're ready. It sounds fun. It sounds like it's going to be a great time and you're going to have this little thing to take care of, and you know, it's going to be like a little doll and it's going to be fun, but it's a huge sacrifice. And so just be prepared, make sure you're ready for it. And for people who are already pregnant, um, do what is best for you and don't listen to people who are trying to tell you what is best for you. I know that new mothers get caught up in what all of the sanctum mommies are trying to tell them. Breast is best. And, you know, don't, you know, there's like the pro swaddlers and the anti baby carriers. And, you know, if you want to give your baby a bottle, give your baby a bottle. If that's what you want to do it. Do what's best for you and don't listen to all those other judgmental people out there who are trying to steer you the way they want you to go. Do what's
Mm,
best for you.
absolutely. Very good.
It'll
Well,
make your life so much easier.
Yes. Yes.
ladies, I have to thank you very much for joining me on the show, especially you, Sky. I know I kind of hit you up like last minute, and you definitely responded. I'm truly grateful for the both of you, though. I appreciate you too, Monica, very much. You gave a lot of insight that's very like critical for parents in the things that they have to do, especially when they're dealing with multiple children. Um, I am looking forward to speaking with you guys again. I think we did a good job. Sky, I will be having the YouTube version of this up in the Geeks channel. If you want
Okay.
to, you can also friend me, and we can kind of go from there. I do post a lot of political stuff, so like if you comment, I'm definitely gonna respond to you, and we'll have a conversation from there. B-
Okay.
But I'm really glad to have you guys on the show. I'll post this information pretty soon. Once I uploaded it to YouTube, takes about an hour and some change. Then I'll put it on the Geeks channel, and I'll also send it to you on Discord just so you can have a copy. Tell your friends if they like podcasts, or even if they just want to support a young entrepreneur, then to subscribe to my channel, and let's blow up and grow together. And
All right.
I'm looking forward to speaking to you guys another time. Would you be interested on doing another show a little bit down the line?
Absolutely. It was
Absolutely.
fun.
Thank
I
you.
met this I met a mother. For me, it's a
Yeah.
new mother.
Yeah, it was
And
fun.
yes, it was very enlightening also to know other people,
Mhm.
other women,
Yep.
how they feel about motherhood. So thank you so much.
No, thank you
Yes.
too. And that's your boy Azor Frost cutting off for the day. I will set up the next podcast theme very shortly after I post this video, and I want all of you guys to enjoy yourself and be well. Until next time, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.